Welcome to the number one podcast throughout the state of Kansas. That's right, it is the A-Train Sports Talk Podcast. I'm also very elated because I did a podcast search on my own and found out that my podcast is also now on Odyssey app, so you can check it out on Odyssey. So if you can't get Spotify, iHeart, or Deezer, or whatever you listen to the podcast, try the Odyssey app. It is absolutely free. Also, shout out to Jacob Albrecht, who had me on as a fill-in co-host yesterday on Sports Daily. Jad Chambers producing the show. I had a blast doing that. So there will be some more coming up like that. I don't know when, so I can't give you no exact dates. But I had a blast being on live radio yesterday. Some of my where I was formerly employed at, I don't know if it might have rubbed them the wrong way, but nonetheless, I still know where I got my start, and I'm always appreciative to where I got my start. I want to send some shout outs to, it all started with basically Chris Allison. I'm pretty sure I can mention radio names on here, but I'm not going to do it because I know there are people that are actually listening to me. So to avoid conflict of interest, I would just say that station out west. I can mention names though. Chris Allison, who used to let me come in the studios while he was doing his early morning show. The man was a relentless worker. Doug Downs, got to watch him in action. As a matter of fact, I was bored out while he was doing some games and doing live coaches shows. So, I know where my start came from, and I will never forget where I came from. So to that, I will always be ever so thankful. Also, shout out to Bob Lutz. That's how this whole thing started. Because he had me come in to fill in, and he said, well, I'll get you back on. And he was very adamant about getting me back on the station. Well, upon yesterday, I was on Sports Daily filling in. Tired and all, but we managed. So I want to say thank you to all who had helped me to develop into what I am now. Those of you who have accepted my invitations to be on my podcast, I can't say thank you enough. That's why I say I have the number one podcast in the state of Kansas, because I know I sound like a broken record, but it's not about me. It's about people that I have on. You're the ones that make this number one. Even though there's probably no statistical data to back it up, I'm going to ever proclaim that I have the number one podcast in the state of Kansas. I'm doing two things at one time. I'm killing two birds. Those of you who have followed me throughout the years on my podcast knows that I have multiple platforms to do podcasts on. One is more localized, one is more national. When I do this more localized with the interviews, the format on it is changing come June, I do believe, to where it's going to be transitioning into Riverside.fm, which is a audio and video podcast. So how we do that is going to be different. So what I did was I shifted my RSS feed over to where I also do my, I can say now, In the Zone podcast. So those of you look, if you see that I have two ones that look identical, that's me. I just want to put that out there because some of y'all are probably going to like, wait a minute, I see two A-Train. One says Sports Talk and one says Sports Talk Podcast. That's me because I was creating another one on a platform that I'm using now, only to find out how to transfer my RSS feed over to where I'm at now. So that's where we're at with that. But I'm also going to be doing the Riverside FM, which I'm actually recording Riverside FM right now as we are doing a podcast. So I'm trying to learn how to do this thing that we call multitask, because, like I said, that's going to be the way we're going, and I need to be real versed. I need to be doing it on my laptop, but I'll get there. I'm learning some new stuff. I just recently downloaded the OBS program on my laptop, so you'll also be seeing me on YouTube, doing YouTube videos, probably a lot more than I'm used to doing, so I can get acclimated to that side of it, and hopefully I will garner a following. Some of you follow me on X. And I know I'm sounding like I'm rambling on. These are what I call my preliminaries. I'm getting those out the way, and thank yous are in order. So up on, I believe it was Monday, I did a show, and or maybe it was last week. I know it was either last over the weekend or Monday, and we gave some love to the girls. You know, I'm a big proponent of women's basketball, women's sports, and we should give them the same respect that we give the men because they play with equally as much passion as the men do. But one thing that I did do last week, it was the best high school players honored on the 2024 Wichita Eagles. There was the girls basketball all Metro Award. Today we're doing the boys all Metro team. So we're going to start look at this. This contributing writer is another friend of mine's, Taylor Eldridge. Got to always give. One thing my parents taught me was always give credit to whom credit is due. And I give credit to this from the Wichita Eagle, Taylor Eldridge, who is a very relentless what he does. He's very hardworking, very dedicated to making sure we get some good content. This is no different, and I do my best to give you the same content. But the Wichita Eagle announced its 20th annual All-Metro Boys basketball team on Monday, honoring some of the best high school players in the state of Kansas from the 2023-24 season. The All-Metro team features the top players and the top coach from Sedgwick, Butler, and Harvey counties based on statistics, team success, postseason recognition, and area coaches' feedback. Of course, Heights senior T.J. Williams was named the Player of the Year after leading the Falcons to their third straight appearance in the Class 6A state championship. Let me also add he's also the Gatorade Player of the Year as well, too. So here we take a full look at the 2024 Wichita Eagle All-Metro Boys basketball team. Out of campus, Andrell Burton Jr., a campus senior. One of the most dominant forces in Kansas this season, Burton averaged 24 points, 10.4 rebounds, 1.8 steals, and 1.4 blocks, and helped lead campus back to the Class 6A state tournament. 6'6" wing, a three-star prospect, uncommitted in the class of 2024. Of course, I believe he's supposed to be going to Drake, unless he open up his recruitment. And that could be the case because I believe his coach, or the coach he committed to, the team, I believe he is looking at a new job or is taking a new job. So his recruitment might have just opened back up. But he managed to do it while being double teamed the majority of the time. He broke the single game scoring record with 45 points against Newton and ended his career number 2 all-time at campus in scoring and rebounding. Burton was named a top 5 overall player in Kansas this season, a first-team All-State pick in 6A, and a first-team All-League pick in AVCTL Division I. Campus coach Zach Kluwer on Burton. The stats that he was able to put up just show how good he was this season, which are even more impressive when you consider he was getting double-teamed for most of the season. He's an extremely gifted player and a great leader on and off the court for us. He's definitely going down as one of the best campus coaches of all time, and that's just a really cool thing. A young man I had the opportunity to see play in person, and I gotta say, let me just say this, I like those May South uniforms. It's kind of a throwback to the days if you've seen any of those Hoosier movies. Their uniforms kind of have that look, but they also have multiple alternatives. But I like this particular one that they have on that senior Torrey Holman is wearing right now. Torrey Holman, May South senior, the big man in the middle who helped power May South to an undefeated record, entering the Class 5A state tournament before suffering a season-ending knee injury. The 6'7" senior averaged 12.8 points, 7.5 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and 1.8 blocks while playing for a balanced team in a loaded senior class. Holman, a Fort Hays state signee, was named a second-team All-State player in 5A and a first-team All-League pick in AVCTL Division I. May South coach Joe Jackson on Holman. Torrey was our most improved player from his freshman to sophomore year, and then again from his sophomore to his junior year. He really grew into an impact player for us and worked on his body to get bigger and stronger and more physical. His athleticism, his senior year, was just off the charts. He was a shot changer in the middle on defense. Anytime you got an athletic 6'7" kid who plays above the rim, that's going to stand out. We're going to really miss his presence a lot next year. Another player that they're going to miss, and one who I've really been on the bandwagon saying that he deserves a look from some Division I, mainly of Wichita State. Michael Cates, Maize South senior, a leader in a deep senior class that guided Maize South to a 23-2 record and a semifinal appearance in the Class 5A state tournament. 5'11" point guard who is uncommitted, averaged 13.8 points and 4.5 assists while knocking down 42% of his three-pointers and a school record 77 makes beyond the arc this season. He also led the team in steals and charges taken. Cates was named a top 15 overall player in Kansas this season, a first-team All-State pick in Class 5A, and the MVP of the AVCTL Division I. Maize South coach Joe Jackson on Cates. He says, I've known Michael since he was in the third grade, and I've seen the work he has put in, and it's truly second to none. He was such a leader on the court for us this season, and he made a seamless transition, moving from shooting guard to point guard this year. He can just flat out shoot the ball. He's the best shooter I've ever coached. Michael has been an absolutely joy to coach, and he makes his teammates better. And for Coach Jackson to say that Michael Cates is the best shooter he's ever had says a lot, because keep in mind that Coach Jackson also coached at Wichita East, hung a banner up at Wichita East. I believe he also coached Samaje Haynes-Jones, who went to Hutchinson Community College, ended his career at Wichita State. So if there's anyone who knows shooters, it would be Coach Jackson. And you also notice that Michael Cates also is uncommitted. I'm hoping that that particular said school that I mentioned gives this young man a call. Also, I'm looking forward to hopefully having him on my podcast tomorrow, Player Spotlight. I'll look to have a dual Player Spotlight on tomorrow, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But now we're going to look at another player here in Will Thingvall, Cape Mount Carmel, senior, the emotional leader and leading scorer of the Cape team that won the Class 5A state championship. The 6'4" guard who is uncommitted scored a combined 60 points in the semifinals and finals to will the Crusaders to the title, as he finished his senior year with averages of 17.6 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 3.5 assists, while also knocking down 42% of his three-pointers. Thingvall was named a top 5 overall player in Kansas this season, player of the year in Class 5A, and a first-team All-League pick in the City League. Cape and Mount Carmel coach Steve Vack on Thingvall. His leadership really came out during the state tournament. I called a timeout, and I barely got the chance to say anything because Will was talking to everybody. He's a real strong kid, and he was an all-state player in football, too. He was a good shooter for us, and everybody just liked him. He got along real well with everybody and was just a likable person. And our kids followed him and the other two seniors. So, tell you what I'm going to do right here. I do have a couple more names to get to. But what I am going to do right here, I am going to take a break. And when I come back, I will give you the rest of this list. And we'll probably see second team and third team as well. So stay in your seat until the train ride is complete. We still have a ways to go on the A-Train Sports Talk podcast. Your host and conductor of the state's #1 podcast, Anthony Smith. welcome back. That's right. It is the A Train Sports Talk Podcast, also on Riverside.fm. Having a blast on Friday, almost afternoon. Just saying, I want to take the invite to join me on the video part of it as well too. But podcast, I just have a blast doing. So in that first segment, we were looking at the area metro players, and I said when I came back from this break, we were going to conclude and continue on. This young man, I will have the privilege of definitely, he's already given me his word, of having him on my podcast tomorrow. He stands 6'8". He is indeed a warrior. He is indeed a baller. And he's not afraid to go into the land of the giants, as was evidenced when they took on Shawnee Mission Northwest and their 7-footer Ethan Taylor. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about none other than Malachi Wilkins. That's right. Had a chance to see him play a few times, but definitely stood out for me in that game. You'll look at his stats and say, well, he doesn't have the eye-popping stats. It doesn't matter when you play for a team like a Heights. Few players in Kansas this season could match Wilkins' combination of height and athleticism. Spearheading the back line of the Heights' defense, the rangy 6'8" averaged 9.8 points, 7.4 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 1.2 steals, and 2.4 blocks this season, helping the Falcons reach their third straight Class 6A state championship and also winning the outright City League title. He's one of the most enticing Kansas prospects in the class of 2025. Wilkins was named second-team All-State in Class 6A and also earned first-team honors in the City League. Heights coach Joe Aaron Wilkins, he was just a defensive threat for us, and he was the fastest guy on our team. So that really put a lot of pressure on our opponents to play transition defense because he could really run. You saw that in the state tournament. He put on a show. He's not your typical 6'8" athlete. He runs like a deer, and his best basketball is definitely ahead of him. And I just want to say this, too, because it leads into the next player that I'm going to talk about, who's Wichita State bound. Is this a situation where Coach Mills might already be on this, in addition to the fact that players have a way of recruiting players? Could we see back-to-back Heights star players just simply go down the road, south from their current location, and end up in the same location? That being said, T.J. Williams, Heights senior, the Kansas Gatorade Player of the Year, adds another Player of the Year achievement to his impressive resume. The 6'5" senior point guard signed to Wichita State did a little bit of everything for Heights this season, averaging 14 points, 7.1 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.3 blocks, while leading the Falcons back to the Class 6A state finals for the third straight year. He was a two-way force all 4 years for Heights, as he was named an overall top 5 player in Kansas this season, on top of first-team All-State honors in Class 6A. Heights coach Joe Aaron Williams. What really stands out about TJ is his leadership. He's obviously a very skilled kid who, as a point guard, we ask to contribute in a wide variety of ways. Statistically, he filled up the stat sheet every single night. But if you ask his teammates or me, the number one thing for him is his leadership at practice and during games. He took ownership of every single aspect of our team success and our team pursuit of winning. He's probably the best leader I've ever coached in my life. He was very concerned about everybody, how everybody was doing. He knew everybody's story and their journey, and he knew our success was deeply connected to his ability to motivate other players, to play at their best. And, of course, the coach. What can we say? This man, since I've known of him, and his coaching has yet to have a losing season. If he does have one, some kind of way, I got to get this man on my podcast so he can tell me when that losing season actually was. He won at Jardine. He won at South. He went to UMKC as an assistant. He won there and was about to get the job there, but somehow Norm Stewart blocked that. Yes, I have to remember that. He went on to Redlands Community College in El Reno, Oklahoma. Won there. A couple of stops at JUCO here in the state of Kansas. Won. Came back to Cape and Mount Carmel 2 years later after stepping foot on Cape and Mount Carmel, hoisting up 5A championship. This guy would be Steve Eck, Cape and Mount Carmel coach. In his third year back on the high school sidelines, Eck triumphed once again to lead the Crusaders to a 22-win season in a Class 5A state championship. It was his seventh overall high school state championship, tied for third most by a coach in Kansas history, and the first since his run of 6 Class 6A titles at Wichita South from 1988 to 96. Capon was led this season by All-Metro pick Will Thingville and junior scoring dynamo Corbin Johnson, as well as Tegan Charles and Brooks Powers, among others. Capon coached Steve Eck on team. I was really happy for our guys. It was really nice. It was a real nice accomplishment for Capon, and I'm grateful to the administration who allowed me to come coach here. I'm really happy for the players, and not just my starters, all the way down to the bench, the freshmen who practiced with us and made everybody better. This was a total team effort. Now we will give you the names of the All-Metro boys basketball second team: Eli Benny, Northwest Junior; DJ Brown, Southeast Junior; Connor Chadwell, Circle Senior; Reed Friesen, Heston Junior; Logan Garner, El Dorado Senior; Sebastian Haynes Turner, Collegiate Sophomore; Jake Jasnowski, Goddard Senior; Corbin Johnson, Cape Mount Carmel Junior; Josh Kim, Andover Junior; Chase Robinson, Heights Junior; Blake Rucker, Andover Senior; Kason Thomas, Campus Senior; Jackson Voth, Cheney Senior; Joe Jackson, May South coach. The All-Metro boys basketball third team: Caden Abasolo, that name sounds very familiar, Mulvane Senior; Jerron Askren, Mays South Senior; Austin Ballman, Andale Jr.; Pierce Blue, Eisenhower Jr.; Mikey Brand, Bishop Carroll Senior; Jaden Brown, Andover Central Jr.; Josh Burdick, Cheney Jr.; Tegan Charles, Cape Mount Carmel Senior; Braxton Creed, Halstead Jr.; Jade Evans, Rose Hill Senior; Caden Franklin, Derby Senior; Jonathan Howard, South Senior; Caden Castleman, Garden Plain Jr.; Manuel Martinez. Congratulations definitely to him. He's the one that pretty much put East High on his back and said, I'm taking you guys to state. Anyway, Manuel Martinez, East High Senior, we wish him the best of luck at his next stop. Braden Maivella, Mays Sophomore; Cooper Nace, Rose Hill Senior; Tayshawn Williams, who's going to Independence Community College, Northwest Senior; and, of course, Joe Auer, Heights coach. So, with that being said, I am going to take another break because we have that out the way. I'm going to take another break. That's right, because this train is still building up ahead of steam. And we're going to take a look at things going on nationally right here on the A-Train Sports Talk podcast, the state's #1 podcast. So don't you dare go nowhere. Stay in your seat until the ride is finished. Welcome back into the A Train Sports Talk Podcast. I'm going to keep saying this is the number one podcast in the state of Kansas. As now we shift our attention. Final Four is coming up, men and women's. But the most controversy doesn't appear to happen on the court. Yeah, I know we can say how terrible officiating is sometimes, but this is off-court action. And when I say off-court, someone is always saying something that basically they pretty much stick their foot in their mouth. And I have some audio to share with you right now, and we will get into this story.
And that's a true statement.
That's not. That's wrong, Molly.
Monica.
That's wrong, Molly. Molly,
like
it's
five
excuses.
top players,
It's excuses,
am I right?
Molly. It's excuses.
Major injury.
You would not be saying that if it wasn't UConn.
Major stars not playing.
Listen, I'm among them this year that I was like, oh, UConn not the UConn of old, and here they are. So.
But I'm just saying, she wouldn't be bringing that up if that's what's unfair about Hogan. Molly would not be bringing that up if it were not UConn.
Dog will holler.
You understand? Hold on. Is Paige Beckers big time? She's
time.
spectacular, right?
You know what?
Excuse
we gotta
me.
go.
It's her against Caitlin Clark.
Stephen A.
Ain't no excuses.
Stephen
You
A.
got there.
Wait a minute.
Don't want to hear that now.
Stephen A.
Let me tell you, if
Paige
Georgetown
Becker-
gets back in the mix, I'm going to be insufferable. I'm just telling you that now.
What?
If Georgetown gets back in the mix on the men's or women's side, I will be insufferable.
Okay, so you
Monica, if Paige Beckerson basically missed 2 seasons, I don't know if we'd be talking about Caitlin Clark the way we are now. And that's facts,
and
Stephen
to
A.
that point, it was the two of them.
I said that the other day.
I was out of the country.
I'm just saying, don't bring up
so
now
I
that they
wasn't
completed
watching
roster. They got to the Final Four. Don't bring it
Gotta
up.
go to break.
Yeah, it was time to go to break because Molly Qerim on Caitlin Clark, she says, all I got to say is she's lucky this UConn team isn't healthy. If Paige Buchers didn't basically miss 2 seasons, I don't know if we'd be talking about Caitlin Clark the way we are now. So, let's try to break this down. So, with the women's Final Four on Friday night, everyone is talking about the matchup between 2 of the game's greatest players, Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers. Of course, we just witnessed 12.3 million viewership between Iowa and LSU. But that game about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later. Clark and the number 1 seed Iowa Hawkeyes will face off against Buchers and the number 3 seed UConn Huskies. While many are looking forward to an exciting matchup celebrating these 2 great talents, ESPN's Molly Qerim brought a more negative vibe to the table, specifically directed toward Clark. You know, it makes me wonder how soon it will be before Jason Whitlock, Jason, I remember a show called The Fabulous Sports Babe. So I'm going to reference Jason Whitlock as coming from Plumber's Butt of America. That's all I'm going to say about that. But you wonder how long before he gets wind of this that he's going to have something to say. Because he is one guy whose pie hole you wish you wouldn't have to hear. Anyway, she says, Molly Qerim brought a more negative vibe, specifically toward Clark. All I got to say is Clark's lucky this UConn team isn't healthy. If Paige Buchers didn't basically miss 2 seasons, I don't know if we'd be talking about Caitlin Clark the way we are right now, Qerim said. Buchers' college career has been derailed by injuries at multiple turns, but that shouldn't diminish any of the accomplishments that Clark has achieved over her stellar career in Iowa. Qerim's comments sparked outrage amongst Clark Iowa fans. So if Buchers wasn't injured, Clark wouldn't be able to be as good at basketball as she is. I failed to see the connection here, one wrote. There are some more tweets right here. One says, people hate greatness. Another one says right here, this is some generational hating right here. Shame on Molly. Molly did not make no friends. Clark and the Hawkeyes will tip off against Buchers and the Huskies at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That will be tonight. So look forward to seeing a good game. Somebody else that is commenting as Shaq doesn't hold back thoughts on Caitlin Clark women's basketball versus men's. College basketball is the biggest sport in America right now. Shaquille O'Neal is all in. O'Neal says he's been watching and keeping up with March Madness, but that the women's tournament has captured more of his attention than the men's event. He says, well, the boys suck, so I'm not following. Can you believe Shaq actually said that? He says, well, the boys suck. I'm not following, but I've definitely been watching the girls. O'Neal said that on an episode of The Big Podcast. It was kind of like an epiphany. Last week was the first time I watched all girls games, he said. I've never done it before, ever, but last week it was crazy. O'Neal shouted out some of the biggest names in women's college basketball, noting that they all put on impressive performances in the biggest games of the season. Juju Watkins, Caitlin Clark, and my girl Angel Reese. They're just killing it, he said. I don't think I even know any men's players. The women's tournament is set to continue on Friday with the Final Four. Clark and Iowa, fresh off a win over Shaq's beloved LSU, will face off against UConn and Paige Buchers. Undefeated South Carolina, coached by Don Staley, will face NC State in the other national semifinal. O'Neal wasn't the only one tuned into women's basketball this week, as a record 12.3 million fans. Let that sink in. 12.3 million fans tuned into the massive LSU Iowa game on Monday. So what can you say? And I remember hearing guys say that men shouldn't talk about women's sports on radio. I wonder if they're saying the same thing now. But guess what? I do have, I believe, some audio from one Shaquille O'Neal. See if I can pull that up.
The girls, actually, women's basketball is kicking.
Yeah,
like it's really it's kicking.
Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Juju
dominate. Like it was kind of like epiphany. Like last week was the first time I watched all girls games. Like I've never done it before ever, but last week
she's getting better. Yeah,
oh, it was crazy. Juju Watkins, Caitlin, my girl Angel Reese, like they're just killing. Like
the entire South Carolina team and Dawn Staley.
I don't think I even know any men's.
So there, you heard it straight from the source. Shaquille O'Neal. He said, I don't think I know any men's team. So with that being said, are you going to be watching the women's Final Four? If I can, trust me, I will. And I will have insight and feedback. But there's been so much more going on besides the games themselves. As I pull up all the information that is readily available to make this show what it is. I mean, basically, the women's tournament is basically getting the headlines, and deservedly so. But there's always somebody who's getting some backlash for some comments that they made. Chimed in on Molly Qerim, and one who I would say was at a point in my life a celebrity crush. Rebecca Lobo receives backlash for comments on Albany during the Iowa LSU broadcast. Former WNBA All-Star Rebecca Lobo was born in Hartford, Connecticut. Hartford is located around 111 miles from Albany, New York. MVP Arena, which hosted Monday's highly anticipated NCAA Division I women's basketball tournament, Elite Eight game between the Iowa Hawkeyes and the LSU Tigers. Lobo shared her thoughts and what she perceived as a lack of offerings from New York's capital city in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, Caitlin Clark's family was shown on ESPN broadcast. Play-by-play announcer Ryan Russo recalled a comment from Clark in which the Iowa Star said her family asked about pregame entertainment options in the surrounding area. "Just go find something to do in Albany. I'm staying in my room and just waiting for the game," Clark responded, according to Russo. Lobo then chimed in, suggesting that the Clark family would struggle to find what they were looking for. "By the way, good luck finding something to do in Albany," Lobo said as she laughed. While some likely viewed the remark as merely a throwaway one-liner, it also left some Albany natives feeling slighted. Lobo's comments even caught Albany Mayor Kathy Sheehan's attention, who offered to give the ESPN broadcaster a tour of the city. "There's plenty to do if you take the time to look. Some of the nation's oldest museums, a stately capital, award-winning restaurants, and a basketball game or two downtown," Sheehan wrote on X, company formerly known as Twitter. I can't believe we're still saying that. At Rebecca Lobo, "Let's take a ride before you leave town. Happy to show you all there is to do." Lobo eventually took to social media to respond to the backlash, saying, "I've spent many fun-filled weekends in the Albany area over the years, coaching my kids' AAU teams. No shade intended towards the capital city and the outstanding job they did hosting the regional." Clark finished the game with 41 points to help push the Hawkeyes past the Tigers. Iowa is now scheduled to take on UConn in the Final Four on April the 5th. And that game is tonight, and I can't wait to get glued to a TV to see that game and be like Shaquille O'Neal, watch it all the way from start to finish. And there is so much more to get to. But I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to save and table some of that for my next show. Because my next show, like I say, we're going to have player spotlight. We know Malachi Wilkins is coming on. Waiting to hear from Michael Cates. I'm pretty sure he is going to respond. He says he is free, so I'll look forward to him. Even waiting on Ashley Singletay. So I could have a three-headed monster as far as the player spotlight is concerned. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be all about interviews on my Saturday show. Before I do leave, though, there had been talk of the Louisiana governor wanting pretty much to give you a backdrop. Louisiana governor doubles down on call for athletes to lose scholarships for avoiding the national anthem after urging college boards to bring in a policy following LSU controversy. Everybody should respect the flag. So here we are back at that again. And what that all stemmed from was LSU was noticeably absent during the playing of the national anthem, to which Coach Kim Mulkey said that's something that they've been doing all season long. So I guess the question is, why bring it up now and why make a big deal if they've been doing it all season long? So let's take a look here at what the Louisiana governor said, and we will close the show out on this note. I know it's a crazy way to close out the show, but Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry has doubled down on his call for athletes to be stripped of their college scholarship if they avoid listening to the national anthem before sporting fixtures. Landry, who was elected governor of Louisiana back in October and was one of many who hit out at LSU this week for skipping the anthem prior to their Elite Eight game against Iowa on Monday night. LSU Tigers drew heavy criticism when footage of the snub surfaced on social media. With Kim Mulkey's players nowhere to be seen as the Star Spangled Banner played out in Albany. Our Stars, meanwhile, stood hand in hand while taking it in. On Tuesday, Landry took to X to call for athletes to lose scholarships for a similar move in the future, insisting it is a matter of respect to listen to the anthem. And one day after the governor joined Fox News to double down on that claim while revealing he has been in touch with every college board to urge them to bring in new policy. I'm not calling out the players or Coach Mulkey. I support Coach Mulkey. My statement said that Landry stressed. But look, I think this is a bigger question, a bigger problem for collegiate sports nationally and in Louisiana. I just sent out a letter to each one of our college boards telling them that those college boards should put in place a policy that respects the national anthem. The national anthem is as much a part of American sports as is the actual game that's being played. The fact that there's not a policy that says, listen, these players are going to be out there and respect the flag and respect those that go out there and protect us is really disrespectful in itself. Then he added, that's what the universities should put in place. They should stand. Everybody should respect the flag. If you don't like it, well, guess what? You don't have to play the sport. And I would hope that all of the Final Four teams will be out there respecting our nation and letting everyone know that we're united under one flag. According to Baton Rouge Proud reporter Chessa Boucher, LSU players are never on the court when the national anthem is played before games. When asked about the incident in the aftermath of her team's 94-87 loss to Iowa, head coach Mulkey said, honestly, I don't even know when the anthem was played. We kind of have a routine when they're on the floor and they come off at the 12-minute mark. I don't know. We come in and we do our pregame stuff. I'm sorry. Listen, that's nothing intentionally done. Despite Mulkey's explanation, LSU fans were still furious with the team for missing the anthem prior to Monday's game, which went down as the most watched women's college basketball fixture for all time with an average of 12.3 million viewers. I look up a couple news sites, and it says the LSU WB team did not attend or stand for the national anthem. One user wrote on Tiger droppings. Are you kidding me? WTF, Kim? And y'all know what that means. What am I missing? We live in the Deep South, and you are telling me LSU did this BS woke crap? Someone please help me understand what happened. For the life of me, I don't understand why LSU would do this intentionally or unintentionally. Another user called for Mulkey and athletic director Scott Woodward to get fired for the routine. The fan also expressed that he will no longer be rooting for the Tigers after decades of wholehearted support. I've been an LSU fan since 1958, the user wrote. I live and breathe purple and gold. I'm also a Vietnam area veteran who loves this country. I just learned about the disrespect Mulkey and her team show for America and those who sacrifice so much. I'm glad they lost to Iowa. If they continue this routine to snub the national anthem, I hope they never win another game. The AD and Mulkey should be fired for allowing this routine. So, go ahead, weigh in. Love to hear your comments. Love to see your comments. Weigh in. Tell me what you think about this. I will be, of course, you know me, I'm going to be posting my links on pretty much all social media platforms to where you can weigh in and give me your thoughts as to what you thought of today's show, today's content, national level, local level. Give me your thoughts and feedback. Would love to hear from you. And once again, thank you for making my podcast what it's been, growing, showing up on other multiple platforms such as the Odyssey app. So I know I'm on Amazon Music. I know I'm on Spotify. I know I'm on iHeart. And now today I just searched and seen that I was also on the Odyssey podcast app. So thank you for making my podcast what it is. Those of you who listen and those of you who are guests. So until the next time, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the weekend because I believe it's just going to be a great weekend. Enjoy some college basketball, men and women's Final Four. We didn't even get to talk about the men yet, but we'll talk about them tomorrow, as I will have some guests on. So we'll talk about all that. So, but like I said, until the next time, take care of yourself and each other. Be blessed. I'm out of here. Enjoy the weekend.